Welcome, welcome, welcome to a new Sunday live class. If you are listening live right now, please say hi in the chat. The chat is here for you. It is here to interact together and to look into um, the all the interesting ways that we can learn French together, or that you can learn French in your actual real life. I see Andrea is here. This is amazing. Thank you, Andrea, for being here. I haven't seen you in a long time, so I'm super glad to see you. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, please tell me how you've been doing lately. And if you are watching the recording, welcome. The comment section is here for you. And I welcome your comments and your feedback and your session and your questions, if you have any, in the comment section. I will always circle back to the comment section to read and reply. So don't feel that you're excluded if you are not here live. As usual, we have a worksheet. This one is called Fluency Hacks, 5 Easy Ways to Start Speaking in French Now. And you can get that worksheet from my Telegram channel, which you will find the link in the description below. It's called Angel Preto, and I think the username is @FrenchFluency on Telegram, just like it is on Instagram as well. So even if you're watching this in the far away future, you will still be able to get the worksheets from my Telegram channel. While if you have been receiving my emails this week, you also got the worksheet sent per email to you, I believe, on Friday, and just 1 hour before this class starts. So Andrea is saying, tu me manques, je suis très occupé, mais bien. Oh, je suis content de voir que tu vas bien. For the record, since you're here and you're an Accelerator student, we have our next live class that will be on Saturday, the 31st of July. I'm preparing it right now. It's about a short movie, which is called Un monde sans rap. So it's a world without rap music. It's a really interesting short movie that was released in 2021, and I look forward to studying that with all of you guys. And then the next workshop for the French Fluency Accelerator, which is about French grammar, will be on August the 11th, and that will be about pronominal verbs, because last week I have sent the usual poll to all the students so that they can vote for their favorite topic and pronominal verbs, and those are the verbs with the se, right? Se promener, se lever, etc. That was the topic that the students were chosen. If you are listening to this and you're not a French Fluency Accelerator student right now, you can always join. You also have the link in the description as usual. And also, I wanted to tell you that, well, this week's special offer is not very special, but very important piece of information. As you have the link in the worksheet as well. I am accepting new clients for my one-on-one coaching program, which is called the French Transformation right now. And very important, the prices for this program will increase at the beginning of August, but everybody who has an active subscription before that will keep the existing price. And the existing price has been here since 2019. So it's a high that it gets upgraded. I have kept this price throughout the dive of the US dollar, and my income has taken a nosedive because of that. And the program is getting better and better, and has more and more workshops and more live classes and more perks. And of course, I am becoming a better coach because I practice more. But then technically, I'm making less money because the dollar is not doing well. So yeah, all of that to say, the price will increase on the 1st of August. So if you have been thinking of doing coaching with me one-on-one, you should really think of getting started right now. Please remember that you have to book a free class unless you were a client before. If you were a client before, I can just send you a sign-up link. Just email me. But if you have never been a one-on-one client of mine before, you need to book a free call so that we can speak about your project and see if the French transformation is right for you. So that was the housekeeping for this week. I see Linda has arrived, and they've started a little chat in French in the chat. So this is really cool. We are going to start looking into the easy ways to start speaking in French. And I need to preface this by saying that it does not have much to do with your actual level in terms of vocabulary, grammar, and basically everything you know about the language. That is, of course, important. But I have seen so many people who knew so much French and were still not able to have a conversation because they hadn't found a way to get started with speaking. So you can be spinning your wheels and learning a lot of French for a very long time before you speak French. And even sometimes you can end up never speaking French. I do know some people who are able to read a book in English, not in French. I don't think I know anyone in that situation because, well, when I see someone who's struggling with speaking French, I help them. So I don't know someone who can read books in French and cannot speak, but I'm sure it exists because I know people who can read books in English and cannot speak it. And for them, it's kind of fine because really they just want to read books. So if that's your goal, good. But most of the people who follow me, or at least most of the people who have given me feedback, have told me that what they want with French is to go to France and speak to people and exchange about the language and the culture and their experience and all of that. You want to be doing it orally or sometimes by text. If you're writing text message, it's pretty much the same as speaking because you don't have a lot of time to think about it. So that is what we are going to speak about today. And it does not have to, you don't have to wait until you have reached some sort of status or a certain badge of honor of knowing however many words or having gone through however many grammar lesson or whatever. Like this has nothing to do with that. And I know it's a bit of a mindset shift, I guess. I was about to say brain fuck, but I'm not sure that it's something I'm supposed to say. If you have children, please grab some headphones. But yeah, I should have said that before, right? So we have Connie here. Hi, Connie. Sweet to see you. Sweet. So, yep. I really wanted to insist on the fact that you don't have to know a certain amount of French to be able to speak. Of course, if you have 0 words, you might want to go and learn the couple before you start. But you can pretty much start from day one. There was this really big thing. I think it was from Benny Lewis, the author of Fluent in 3 Months, who wrote a chapter in that book. I think the book is here. Yes, this book. In this book, there's a chapter about speaking from day one. And while I have lots of mixed feelings about this book because I think it shares a lot of strategies that are a bit hit or miss depending on your learning style and your personality, the speak from day one thing I can totally get behind because the more you wait, the more you wait. So wherever you are right now in your French learning journey, like if you haven't started speaking French, start now. That's going to be like the topic. It's the title is, I forgot what I wrote as the title, but something like 3 ways to start or 5 ways to start speaking in French now. I really mean it. If you haven't spoken French so far, you need to start now. And we're going to look into how you can start speaking French today or tomorrow if it's the evening, but you can literally start today. So the first thing that you have that you can write on your worksheet here is to start small. And that's really the key. It's going to keep being this big thing that you will do in the future if you keep making it a big thing. And I've heard people say in English, putting a thing on a pedestal. I think the meaning of this expression in English is less strong than in French, and I should start using it because in French, mettre quelque chose ou quelqu'un sur un piédestal, it's a really big thing. We don't use so much this word, but in English, I've heard this expression used in rather mild situations. It's just that you introduce some distance between you and the thing. And the goal is to avoid having some distance between you and speaking French. So you need to start small. I see that Linda is saying to Connie that they can do a call once a week to practice and make it a regular thing on your schedule. So that's a possibility. You're actually ahead of my little plan because that would be part of key number 2. I'm going with the principles first, and then we're going to go with what you can do concretely. So start small. That's really important. And then you have 2 keys in the worksheet. And the first key would be to give yourself some small challenges. So I don't know, like having a meeting together, your friends, having a meeting once a week and practice a little bit of French together. It's low stakes, safe space. It can be nice. That can be a small challenge. That could be even a smaller challenge that you have a call that's 5 minutes long and that's it, or 2 minutes even. It can be really, really small. I like to tell the French Accelerator students to post a video where they speak French, which I know that if you haven't really been making videos of yourself, it can sound scary, but you can just film anything and say something in French and post it. It has to be as small as it possibly can be. Like think of yourself, what is the smallest thing I could do which would still be completing some sort of task in French? So give yourself small challenges. And second, lower the stakes, because again, like having high stakes to a situation, it's going to be the thing that stops you from starting. So that's really important to be in a situation where there's not much at stake. I mean, if you fail, big deal, that's really important. Now, a problem you might be having with that is that you will think, oh yeah, but it was only 2-3 words, it doesn't count. Seriously, it does count. It always counts. Everything counts. Every single word you pronounce in French counts. Every single 30-second video that you make of yourself speaking French counts. Every single time you speak to someone in French, whether it's a native or a friend or a non-native, it doesn't matter. Everything counts. And every small bit that you do counts towards becoming a fluent speaker in the future. So that's really super important to understand that in order to start, it has to be small. So the challenge has to be really small, and you have to have really small stakes. And you have to get over, like, if you have been thinking that it doesn't count because it's so small, you have to get over this idea, because everything counts and everything is really super duper important. Andrea is saying that making videos is a good way to track progress. This is true. Like, you can also use it as a way to track progress. If you make a video every week, in 3 months, when you watch your first video, you could be like, whoa, I can't believe my French was that bad. So that is a great way to keep your progress. That is also the reason why in my one-on-one coaching program, I record all the sessions with the students. But it's one of the reasons why. The other reason is that you can then listen to the recording as soon as you have it, which will be 10 minutes after the session, to review what you have learned during the session. But also, you can listen to your recording 6 months later or 3 months later and be like, whoa, that is how much progress I've made. So yes, recording yourself, making videos, great way to track progress. Connie's saying, I'm on my cell phone, so chatting is challenging. We need to do that, Linda. Okay, well, yeah, do your best. I'm glad that you have found a way to be here anyway, so that's amazing. So start small, give yourself some very small challenges, lower the stakes. Like, you have to have very low stakes and not be making it this big thing in your head, because often you can think, oh yeah, one day I will know all the French and then I will speak. Sorry to disappoint, but it doesn't work this way. You have to speak so that you speak. And some people can speak with very few words, and some people feel some sort of need to have a lot of words before they can speak. I think this is okay. There's nothing fundamentally wrong with learning a lot of words before you speak. Some people will feel a lot safer this way. So I don't want to try and take away the things that make you feel safe. You just need to know that you have to not push the goalposts every time, because the only way that you will learn to speak is to speak. There is no amount of word that you can learn which gives you the magic capability to speak. It's just a practice thing. And every small bit of practice counts. I'm reading a book right now which is called Good Morning, I Love You. It's by, the author is Shona Shapiro. I would show it to you, but it's in my bedroom. It was actually recommended to me by a student, Scott. So Scott, if you come across here, thank you for the recommendation. And the book is about mindfulness and how what we practice affects our brain. And basically, in the very first chapter, she makes the case that every single thing you do has the potential to affect your brain as long as you do it repeatedly. It's not about how much you do, it's about how often you do it. So small challenges, low stake, and do it as often as possible. That will be the first key. So how do you do that in, concretely? So I've broken the things that you can do in 2 categories. The first one will be real life practice, and the second one will be safe space practice. Now, I consider that safe space is not really real life, because if you have a space, for example, you do one-on-one coaching with me, or you are practicing in the French Accelerator Facebook group, or you are practicing with a friend with the goal of empowering each other, that is not exactly the kind of situation that you are in real life. So you can't really use just a safe space and never use real life, because otherwise you will get really used to your safe space, and then it will be your next frontier, basically. So that's important to remember that. But it can be very, very, very useful to start speaking in a safe space, even if it's not exactly a real life situation, if you're just pretending with a coach or with a partner or with a friend. So let's see what you can do concretely. So in real life practice, that would be really particularly easy if you are in a French-speaking country. If you're in a French-speaking country, basically the world is your oyster, or the country is your oyster. You can go, like, if you're in France, typically a thing that the French do is buying bread at the bakery. So you can go to a bakery and buy some bread. That is a task. It's not a lot of French to say, enter the bakery. Bonjour, madame, je voudrais une baguette. She will tell you the price. I mean, generally they're a she, but could be a, they will tell you the price, and then you will pay. You say merci and au revoir, and you leave. It's not a lot of French, but it is a real life interaction, and it is very easy to know if you've been successful or not. Because if you go buy bread and you come back with bread, then congratulations, you did it. You have been successful. And if you do all of that speaking French, even though it's not a lot of French, you have successfully completed a task, and you have spoken French throughout. So that is a very simple task that you can do. A little bit slightly harder, go to a cafe and get some coffee. If you get the exact coffee that you want, that's a great success. If you get some coffee but not the one that you wanted, it's not completely successful. Now let's see if you can complain about the fact that you didn't get the right coffee that you wanted, because it might be the waiter's mistake, but then you would have to, tell them. So that's a harder level of French. Or have a short conversation with someone. It could even be someone that you're waiting at the bus stop with, although that's probably not the easiest conversation to have. But maybe a work colleague or someone you would meet regularly at some sort of club, at a church or at a class that you take, for example. And then you can build it up towards bigger challenges. So it's really important to start with very small challenges, right? So I hope that makes sense. Linda is saying, yeah, we do. I feel like I'm getting worse. You're not getting worse, Linda. Like, I talk to you every week. Yeah, you're okay. You're just learning a lot of words, and it's slow. Like the way you speak is slow, but it's fine. Like I can tell you, you are using more and more words. Like it's not rare to feel like you're getting worse, unfortunately. But yeah, like if you listen to your previous recordings, you see you have a lot more French now, and you speak much better than before. Linda is saying consistency is key for everything. This is absolutely true. And Connie, I did learn how to order coffee. I successfully ordered it as a cafe. So see, you have already started speaking French at some point. Now the challenge is to keep doing it regularly. If you're in a French-speaking country, it's quite easy. You can start with small challenges. If you know how to order a coffee, next, try to go to a restaurant and order a meal. It's a bit harder. It takes more words. It takes being able to read the menu. That's the harder challenges. A thing that I like to do is going to a class that teaches you some physical skills. One of the way that I learned German when I first lived in Vienna was to go to a yoga class. And I knew hardly any of the body parts, but after I had been through the yoga class for a number of months, I knew all the body parts very easily because that's what is repeated all the time. So sports classes, very good. And anything that requires working with your hands, also very good. One of my students told me that she went to a silk painting class, and that was a really, really good idea because there's not so much that can go wrong at a silk painting class. You see the teacher showing the skill, even if you don't really understand what they're saying, it's fairly easy to copy it. So, if you're in a French-speaking country, you can use your fancy. Anything you want to do is probably available, and you can just go do it if you feel that it's a rather small challenge compared to what you've done before. Now, if you're not in a French-speaking country, which I assume is the situation for most of you, that gets a little bit more tricky, but you want to look at what is available in your city. So, for example, many cities have language cafes or polyglot cafes, which are meetings of people who practice different languages, and then they will do that once a week. I went to a language cafe when I was in Dijon to practice, back when I lived in Dijon when I was really young. I went to a polyglot cafe almost every week, and that was a great way to practice, Spanish, Portuguese, the languages that I wasn't having the opportunity to practice all the time. And fun fact, I even met one of my ex-partners there, and then we moved to Austria together. That was 12 years ago. But still, it can be something to challenge yourself to do. It's quite a safe space to go to a language cafes because everybody is there to practice, so people aren't going to make fun of you. Keep in mind that you have lots of things that you can do online. So really, you have lots of opportunities to meet natives. You have some platform natives or people who just like to practice. Like they don't have to be natives all the time. You have platforms that you can use like italki or HelloTalk. It's not always easy to meet the best people on those platforms. Like it can take some trial and error. In the French Accelerator, we have a workshop that's specially designed to help with that. It's, I believe, how to have meaningful conversation in French. That's the title. But generally it can take some trial and error, but you can use those platforms, and it can be a challenge to just go on an app like HelloTalk and have a little chat with someone. That could be a rather safe challenge. You're sitting at home. There is not so much that can happen to you. Well, you can always embarrass yourself or meet someone that's unsavory, but relatively low risk. Or I think that is a bit of a higher stake situation. You can simply go to a French-speaking community. So either in real life, you have, most big cities have some French-speaking community, and they have a restaurant where they meet, or they have places where they meet. So that I would recommend to do if you're already quite advanced, like intermediate or advanced student, or if you're very courageous, because it can be challenging to keep up with a community of natives when they are talking to each other. Like, that's really like the highest level I can think of. Interestingly, before the whole COVID situation, we had we still have a French-speaking community here, but we're not meeting so much. But before the whole COVID situation, we were meeting several times a month, and every time there were people who were non-native French speakers, typically Austrian people, who were just joining to practice their French, and they were always very welcome. It's just that it can be uncomfortable for them if their French is not really good. So you have to know where you stand, and if you're feeling courageous enough to try it. You can also join French-speaking communities online. It can be easier if you're speaking in writing with your keyboard. So places like Facebook groups or Reddit. I know that, Andrea, you're a fan of Reddit, and you would join Reddit communities online to speak French. It's a great idea to do that. Not everybody is super nice on Reddit, so that's something to keep in mind, of course. But as usual, you have to adjust the stakes and feel, okay, what do you feel comfortable doing? What is just outside of your comfort zone? Because speaking French is going to be outside of your comfort zone, but you have to be like just a little bit outside of your comfort zone, like not so far out that you can't do it, because of course that won't work, but just a little bit outside. So let's see what comments we have. Andrea is saying sometimes just letting go of people, just letting a lot of people know that you are learning French works too. I found out that 2 of my coworkers speak French fluently, and that way I communicate in French with them now. Yep, great tip. So you could, if you have a lot of coworkers, you might be having some of them that speak French. So you can practice French with them. You can go to lunch with them and practice over lunch. It takes a bit of creativity, but yeah, letting a lot of people know that you are learning French can definitely attract people. Because also, if you're in a country that is not natively a French-speaking country, people who speak French will be so happy to speak French to you. I swear, I went on 2 dates with a woman that I wasn't even really that into because she was French. And I was like, yay, speaking French. That's amazing. And, we had a good time, and we're friends now. It's, yeah, French people or French speakers, and sometimes some French learners, will also do quite a lot to just speak French. So most people will be super supportive of it. So those are real life practice options. Yeah, you can write a couple in your worksheets here. If you have some more ideas, please share them in the chat so that I can read them out for the people who will be watching the replay. And you can also give ideas to your fellow chat members, the word chat members. So Andrea, thank you for sharing the ideas. And Linda and Connie, if you have some more, or other people that are watching here, because YouTube is telling me that 8 people are watching. So if you're watching right now and you have some ideas, even if you haven't said hi before, please type your ideas in the chat so we can share them with everyone. All right. Linda is saying, I'm going to see if there's a French group on Meetup. Oh yeah, Meetup is a great website to meet people who speak all sorts of languages. I've been using it in the past, particularly when I was in Berlin. It works very well in big cities. I'm not sure how well it works in small cities, might depend. So a French group on Meetup that meets around here. The one in New York was a disaster. There were 4 French expats who just wanted to have old home week. Yeah, that's, you have to see. It's going to be different from person to person and from group to group, and also depending on how introverted or extroverted you also are. So if another option that you have, if you're not going for real life practice for any reason, or even if you are going for real life practice, is to do a safe space practice. So safe space practice is basically anything that you do where the other person or persons are going to be supportive of you, and you will be able to practice just for the sake of practicing. That's what I call safe space practice. Like, really, the idea is to find people who are supportive. Now, a key that's really important here is to choose your partners carefully. So that's right here. Choose your partners carefully, because the partner, it's a bit like in a marriage. If you're married to the wrong person, your life will be a lot harder than if you're married to someone amazing and supportive. I'm sure you know that. So it's the same if you even if you are just having a partner for like a one-time conversation. You can have people who will be very supportive and very nice, and you can have people who will be disengaged and possibly in a bad mood, or even expecting you to know more than you do, or things like that. So it's really important to choose your partners carefully. Again, that's something I speak about in the French Accelerator, more in the workshops, which is about having meaningful conversation. So, yep, choose your partners carefully. And one thing that's important, especially if you have several conversations with the same person, you need to always have a topic for each conversation. This is actually one of the pillars of my one-on-one coaching practice, which is not so obvious at first, but before I have a session with a student, I always think, okay, what would be a good topic for this conversation? What can I make my students speak about that would help further their French? So in order to have your topic, you want to be using your Fluency Worksheet, which I show you every time because it's super important. So this is the Fluency Worksheet. It is a part of the roadmap to fluency. When I work one-on-one with someone, I make a larger French learning plan, which I fill out all on my own, so you don't have to do it. But that is if you work with me. It's in 3 parts. But if you're working on your own, you can use the Fluency Worksheet, which you have for free in the French Fluency Starter Kit. And that will help you write down all the topics that you want to speak about. Just you have to basically brainstorm it. There's a step-by-step process to do that. If you are in the French Accelerator or in the French Life Launchpad, this is the topic of the very first workshop. But if you're not, you can get started with just this worksheet, which is free. And on this list of topics, which you will have written down, you can choose for each conversation one topic that you will speak about, and then that allows you to practice either the vocabulary or not either, that to practice the vocabulary of that specific topic, and also sometimes you will need some particular grammar for it. So for example, if you want to be able to tell stories that happened to you in the past, you will need to have to know how to use the tenses of the past, which is one of the hardest things to do in French. I consider that it's the rite of passage between beginner and intermediate level. Like if you have successfully completed a couple of lessons about the past, you can tell that you are not a beginner anymore. You have succeeded the first big hurdle, and now you are a fully fledged intermediate student. So, that's what it's for, basically. Practicing the vocabulary of a topic and practicing sometimes the grammar, which is typical for it. It's not something that you would naturally think about if you're not a French coach or a French teacher. So that's really important to keep that in mind. Another thing that it does, if you have a topic for each conversation, is that it stops you from always having the same conversation. And this is a problem that I used to have very often in the past when I was going to language cafes, both in Dijon and later in Vienna. I was having the same conversation every time, because every time there were new people there, and I was just saying, it was all about, okay, where are you from? Why are you here? And it was always the same conversation. It would be easier if you had one partner or a coach or a tutor that you would see regularly, because then, of course, they won't want to have the same conversation with you every time. They will want to have different conversations. But if you have different partners, it can be helpful to maybe have a couple of question prompts that you can use to, as an icebreaker to speak to the other person. Or just try and find a language partner or a tutor or a coach that you that you meet regularly, and make sure that they are supportive, that they are able to maybe correct you if you want that, and that to give you new vocabulary, because that's really helpful to have someone to give you new vocabulary when you need it. It's something I do a lot in one-on-one coaching. I have always a Google Doc open that the student can see at the same time, and I type in the new vocabulary and the new sentence structures at the same time, as well as the corrections for something that the student says. And that gives them the notes that they can take away. And they also have the recording, so they can use that to review the content of the session. It's something that you can perfectly do on your own side with your own tutor or with your with your language partner. Even if you're doing it for free and exchanging your language with a native speaker, you can also do that. It's a good idea to have recordings and to take notes at the same time. And if you're doing it online, I really love to use the Google Docs because it allows the two people to see the things that are being typed in real time. So all of that to say, choose your partners carefully, because if they are supportive, they will really help you. Always have a topic for each conversation, and use your Fluency worksheet to select the topic. So please tell me if this makes sense and if you have any question about this. Also, if you have some more ideas on where to find people to practice on how to practice French, I totally welcome them in the chat. It's a bit of a collaborative sessions that we do together. I like to have also your input. That is just not me talking, but also sharing a bit with you, even though you have to type and I have to talk, which is not really fair. But anyway, if you have any questions, please type them in. And if not, I'm gonna move on to the next topic. I forgot to say at the beginning, but I guess since the beginning, you know the story, that we will have time at the end of this class to answer any question that you have in French. So if you have any question about a topic that's different from what we have today, please keep them for the end of the hour, and then I will answer them at that time. All right, so if no question is coming in so far, I will move on to the next step, which is managing anxiety. Now, it's absolutely, completely normal to feel anxious or resistant or shy or unsure when you are about to practice a foreign language. It still happens to me after 6 languages. When I have to speak German and I haven't spoken German in a long time, I feel anxious. I feel like, I'm not sure if I can do it. What's the word again? It's normal. You need to be able to manage your anxiety so that you'll be able to do it. The keys that I gave you at the beginning, which is to start small and to have lower stakes and just have small challenges that are just slightly outside of your comfort zone, that will really help managing anxiety in and of itself. If it's not enough, you can use any techniques of managing anxiety that works for you, and that will work across the board. Like, it's not just for speaking French, it's to manage anxiety in your life. Like, if you know that you are likely to be anxious in your life in general, you're also very likely to be anxious when practicing French. So, things that you can use: exercising, meditation, energy clearing. I still have the energy clearing video, which I need to finish. I actually need to start it from scratch again because my VA unfortunately did a terrible job, and I just have to do it myself, and it takes a long time. But I'm gonna do it. We have one of those live classes in which I spoke about manifesting and energy clearing, where I do some of it. If you're in the French Accelerator, please use the workshop about energy clearing to do that. But I will finish that video eventually. Can't really tell you when. But energy clearing is a good one. EFT, which is emotional freedom technique, or tapping, which consists of tapping while either repeating statements or just tapping with your fingers on some acupressure points on your face. Those are techniques that you can use to manage anxiety. I know that I promised to make a tapping video, and I haven't done it yet, but one other thing that's on my list and that I will do when I can find the time. All right, so Andrea is saying, keep an eye out for opportunities. While visiting Orlando, I met several people from Haiti, and I was able to speak French with them. Yes, that is the attitude. That is how you really become a French speaker. It's have an eye out for other French speakers so you can practice with them, or just, not even practice, but have a conversation with them. Yeah, another tip from Andrea: rehearse the conversation in your mind. I do that a lot, especially with German. I'm like, okay, what am I going to tell them? Okay, these are the words. And then it helps me be less anxious and get started, because it's really hard to pick up the phone and start talking if you don't know what you're going to say. So it works in English. It works also in any other language. Envision the way you want the conversation to go. Thank you, Andrea. Also a really great tip. Linda is saying, I do that with English. Yeah, I think you should do it even if it's your native language. That's the thing. There isn't and it should even be your goal, that there should not be a lot of difference between how you deal with French and how you deal with your native language. So English, if it is English, and also any other language that you speak. The whole point of becoming a French speaker is that you treat your new language just like your old language. So you can be watch, like for example, when I choose to watch videos on YouTube, because I do that a lot, I procrastinate a lot on YouTube. Revelations. I'm sure you knew that. But when I procrastinate on YouTube, I have my feed and there are videos in French and videos in English in there. I'm really lazy with videos in German, so I don't watch that many. So YouTube doesn't offer them to me too much, but sometimes it happens, and sometimes I watch some. Spanish as well, and Portuguese not so much. I think there is just isn't as much content in Portuguese, or maybe YouTube doesn't like it. But yeah, it's all about that language is also one of your languages, and so you don't need to treat it differently from your native language. It's actually going to be really helpful to start treating it quote unquote normally, because your brain will use similar neural pathways to do French as to do English. So that will also help with, speaking faster, thinking in French, because if you're still translating in your head, of course it is slower and you will have more resistance. So yes, I know it's easier said than done, but it's little things like having podcasts. Like I have my podcast app on my iPhone, and it also has podcasts in French and in English in there, and also I think a few in German. Or on Audible, you can have audiobooks that are in French as well. So it's about using the things that you use for English, also using them for French, and not treating the languages differently. That's how you become completely bilingual. Tony, hi Tony, good to see you. Sometimes it is not a conversation, but helping lost tourists, some of whom can be French. Yeah, well, I mean, if you are helping tourists, I guess you're talking to them. So de facto, it is a conversation, even if it's really short and it's just, turn left, turn right or something. But yeah, a really good idea. If you find a lost tourist, it works. And that counts. That could be a small challenge, although it can take a while until you find a lost tourist. So if you wake up one day and you're like, okay, today I'm going to help a lost tourist, unless you know a place where they get lost, it can be challenging. But yes, this is an opportunity to speak French, and I encourage you to do that. Andre is saying, I use visualization a lot. Visualization is really helpful, especially if you're a visual learner. It can be challenging to visualize speaking, so I would recommend doing visualization and also some auditory thing, and rehearsing the sound as well as you rehearse the image at the same time. I also like to visualize speaking as an energy, so not really think of the words, but actually visualize it as an energy and visualize the transmission of energy between the person and myself. I do that before my one-on-one sessions a lot as well, and I find that it really helps being in the situation and really accomplishing the goals and being focused and centered in that conversation or in that session. So yep, that was managing anxiety. And the last thing I have on the worksheet here is beware of resistance. Like, this is really important. I think part of the reason why my German is not getting better lately is because I resisted openly. Like, I'm really, really resistant to German. And yeah, like I wrote it here, I just wrote it as opposed to putting blanks, but it's really easy. It's easy to skip your practice or to avoid getting started altogether. But the thing is, if you want to be a French speaker one day, like one day is not a day of the week, and you have to start small and you have to do it regularly, and especially you have to do it when it quote unquote doesn't matter, because it does. So if today is a day where you could either speak French or not speak French, and it wouldn't change the fundamental aspect of your day, if you have the possibility to speak French in any way or to practice French, do it. Or if it's just doing your daily French bath, it's called the daily French bath for a reason. Minute 38, I mentioned the daily French bath for the first time. It's not so common that I can go 48 minutes without mentioning it. But yeah, today we're speaking about practice, so it's not so much a topic for the daily French bath. But I guess you could say that the daily French bath is passive practice. It's listening practice. And that counts also. It's just that I would not consider the daily French bath practice for one very specific reason. The reason is that it would be really, really easy to only do passive practice and not to speak. And if you do that, you will build amazing passive knowledge, but you will not become able to practice speaking French. So you have to do both. You really absolutely have to do both. So be careful with resistance. Our brains are very, very resistant sometimes. It can be really hard to get started for no quote unquote valid reasons at all. It is often an energy thing. It's just you are not in the mood, or you have some block that you don't even know you have. those things can happen. It's very important to stay mindful of that so that you catch it, and you don't need to push yourself. I find that often pushing myself just doesn't work. But have compassion for yourself and be like, okay, yes, I resist this. This is difficult. This is challenging. I'm going to do just a little bit. I'm going to do just a little challenge. I'm going to have a 5 minutes conversation with someone. I'm going to send 2 texts. I'm going to go to one Facebook group and post 1 post or something like that, because it's about doing a very little and doing it regularly. Now, of course, if you can do a lot, it's amazing. Sometimes I go into hyper-focus mode and I do a lot more than I was planning to do. I think it's my neurotype that's a bit perhaps neuroatypical. It can be useful, but remember that it's also just as useful to do regularly, just a little bit. So make sure you are not being too resistant. All right, so we have some comments here. It's the 40 minutes mark. I've covered pretty much everything that is on the worksheet or on the content for today. So if you have any question in general about French or any question that I can answer, please ask, and I'll be happy to answer those questions. All right, and we do have some comments already. Linda is saying, I am finding that doing the quantum jumping to think in French video helps me before I speak. Thank you. I totally forgot about that video. We have that video on the channel. It's called Quantum. I think it's called Quantum Jumping to Think in French. I think it's the title. So it's a meditation track that I have created, and it takes you to a parallel universe. You don't actually have to believe that this truly happens. You can use it as a pure visualization. It's just a way to talk to your subconscious. So whether or not you believe in the multiverse theory is completely irrelevant. It's just about presenting some strong image to your subconscious so that it helps it get on track. So this meditation track, Quantum Jumping to Think in French, it takes you to a parallel universe where your twin self, so a person which is just like you but in another universe, thinks in French. And then you merge with that person. And at this point, the track, which is my voice, shifts from English to French. And the remaining half of the track is in French. So that is designed to help you switch your thinking process from English to French. Now, there is no guarantee that it will actually work for you or that it will work on the first time, but I did have great feedback, well, just like the one I got from Linda right now, on how this track does indeed help with thinking in French. And we have Linda Galmi, who's here. Hi, Linda. Glad you could join. She says she likes the quantum jumping video too. So, yep, if you haven't tried it yet, I strongly recommend using it. You can use it every day before doing your French bath or before your French class or before doing anything in French. That is designed to really help get your brain onto the French track, if that makes sense, onto the French way of thinking. So Tony has some questions, 2 questions. One, I heard about lots of non-English speakers, typically children having conversations and asking questions in English with Alexa, Siri, Cortana, etc. Is this any good for adults? I haven't tried. My Siri is set to English. It works for me, but I don't use it a lot. And of course, I mean, I'm quite a fluent speaker. What I would think immediately is that these automated assistants, they tend to struggle with accents. So it's probably not a good idea to try it if you have a rather strong accent, which is normal for a learner. And I don't even think it's a bad thing. But I think that a person, a human, whether native or non-native, is much more likely to understand you than Siri or Alexa or those kind of robot things. So you can try. I would love to get some feedback on that. I am personally not sure. I'm particularly concerned about the accent thing. And also, I just don't know how smart they are. Often when I try to have a conversation with Siri, it could be easier for children because children have a lot less complex conversations. So something to try. I can't really answer to that, but that would be my thoughts. All right, second question from Tony. Are voice-to-text apps on my phone any good in French? I tried one on one phone and it was so, especially on nasal vowels, having tested them also with recordings of native speakers. Yeah, they can be very, very hit or miss. I have had a student who tried to do his homework with a voice on, what do you call it? Voice to text. One of my students tried to do his homework with it, and it didn't go too well, and we ended up reverting to him actually writing because it was pretty challenging for the app to even get anything. And when I was correcting that, I was like, how do you make this kind of mistakes? It doesn't even make any sense. So yeah, again, that's kind of hit or miss. Nasal vowels can be particularly challenging because they are digrams. So yeah, those are like both the assistants, like, Alexa, Cortana, and Siri, and the voice to text. I think those are great things to develop, but so far they are just not really up to speed with the kind of needs you would have for language learning. So yeah, you can try it, but if it doesn't work, don't beat yourself up. It's more likely that it's the software which is not up to speed than you not being good at French. So yeah, especially you, Tony, because I know that you're quite advanced for a learner. So yeah, even in general, if it doesn't work, I would blame the thing. I wouldn't blame myself. All right, so Connie is saying, when I am in my car and get a text message, I made Siri a mail and French. He reads my text out loud. I have to respond in French to tell him I don't want to reply to the text. I laugh hysterically during the day with text messages. I am easy to amuse. This, I actually never heard of that idea, but it's really cool. I really like it. So I wonder how good Siri is at reading texts that are in, wait. No, so your texts are in English, but Siri is a French male who reads your text out loud, right? So the accent must be weird. Like, do you even understand what Siri is saying, or is it just funny? I don't know. Yeah, Connie, you got some teacher's pets point back. Yeah, I'm totally getting some teacher's pets points for that. I do not actually know if it's a valid strategy to learn French, because I mean, if you were getting your text messages in French, then yes, like 100%. Because if the text is in French and Siri is a French person, right, a French Siri, then yes, that would definitely be a good strategy. But if your text is not in French, it's just someone reading with a weird accent, I guess. So, but it's fun. Should try that. All right, we do have 14 minutes left, 13 minutes. So please, if you have any questions or any comments, please go ahead and type them in now. I'm happy to stick around until the end of the hour to reply to you and just, share some strategies or share questions and answer your questions as much as I can. Connie is saying, sometimes I do understand what he says. Sometimes I just like to humor myself. Yeah, it sounds like it's not very time efficient, but if you have time or if you're in your car anyway, like, why not? Yeah, that's funny, at least if it's not a French learning strategy, it's at least funny. So there's that. All right, what can I do to help you out today? Linda is saying I have to try that with Google Assistant. Connie, I'm an Android. Yep. So Google Assistant on Android, Siri on iPhone. Try it. Tell me how that works. I look forward to hearing about that next week or so. What is the topic for next week? I'm gonna try. I know we decided on that. Well, please type your questions while I'm looking for it. Here on my topic list. Oh yes, the topic I have for next Sunday is ways to learn vocabulary fast. So those are topics that we have partially covered from different angles, but I'm going to look specifically at speed of how to learn vocabulary next week. Tony, oh wait, no, we have Andrea first. Andrea, I put my Oisé in French, ways. I don't even know what that is. Although I don't have to speak to Oisé, just listen. What's Oisé? Please tell me, this is new to me. Tony is saying, one thing you might want to try is, if you have time, is highlight one of your Telegram posts as a highlight of the week gone. I can do that. I have to find out how to do that. This is new to me. So thank you for the tip. I had no knowledge of that, but yes, totally can do that. Thank you. Oisé or ways? So how do you pronounce it? Do you pronounce it ways, like maze, but with the M reverse? A Google Maps alternative. All right, good to know. So I guess it gives you direction in French or direction in another language. I've been trying to make these. I mean, that's got to have been Google Maps. I've been trying to make it read directions to me, but it's in English and the street names and everything are in German. and it's awkward, let's say. Linda, oh yeah, I have my Google Maps person. I call her Betty in French now. Yeah, that's the thing with the Google Maps person is that it will do a better job if it has the language that goes with the country. Otherwise, it gets so weird. Like, Marielle Frostras. No, that's not how you pronounce things here. But yeah, I turn it off because it annoyed me. But if it's enjoyable for you, keep going. Like maze. All right, so ways like maze. Makes sense. Can you throw in some French words when you talk to us about a specific topic? Not all of it, but occasional, so I can see if we figure it out with contexts. Oh, like ways. Oh, okay. She gets weird pronouncing all the native names anyway. Well, good to know. I thought it was personal. Je pourrais parler français, oui. Ce serait maybe what I could do right now, since we have 10 minutes more and that doesn't seem to be that many questions. I could summarize the content of the worksheet entirely in French. So then you can see how much you understand. And since you know the content already, it should be easy for you to get it from context. So, alors la première clé qu'on a vue aujourd'hui, c'était de commencer petit, commencer avec des petites choses. Et il faut vous donner des petits défis, ou peut-être parfois on dit en français challenge, comme si c'était en anglais. Donc, il faut vous donner des petits défis et il ne faut pas qu'il y ait trop d'enjeux. Les enjeux, c'est en général ce qui nous rend anxieux. Donc, des petits défis avec pas trop d'enjeux. Et ensuite, il faut pratiquer. Et il y a deux manières de pratiquer. On peut pratiquer dans la vraie vie. Okay, c'est ce qu'on a appelé la real life practice. Et si on est dans un pays francophone, c'est plus facile parce qu'on peut pratiquement faire absolument tout ce qu'on veut. Donc, si on est très débutant, on peut commencer par aller acheter du pain à la boulangerie, ou on peut aller dans un restaurant et acheter, ou dans un café et demander un café. Si on est un peu plus avancé, on peut aller dans un restaurant et avoir un repas entier en parlant français. Ou alors, on peut aller, par exemple, dans des cours de yoga, dans des cours de sport ou dans des cours de travaux manuels, comme par exemple du dessin. Si vous n'êtes pas dans un pays francophone, c'est un peu plus compliqué parce que vous devez trouver des communautés qui sont francophones. Donc, vous pouvez soit trouver des groupes dans la réalité où vous avez des gens qui parlent français, ou alors vous pouvez utiliser Internet et vous pouvez chercher des communautés francophones en ligne, par exemple sur Facebook ou sur Reddit, comme on dirait en français. Donc ça, c'est des manières de trouver des occasions de pratiquer en ligne qui sont réelles, qui ne sont pas fabriquées. Ou alors, vous pouvez pratiquer dans ce qu'on appellerait un espace sûr. Ça, c'est un peu bizarre à dire en français, mais un espace sûr. Et ce qui est important, c'est de surtout choisir vos partenaires vraiment soigneusement, parce que la personne qui vous aide, c'est une des choses les plus importantes pour votre pratique. Si vous tombez sur quelqu'un qui ne vous soutient pas ou qui se moque de vous, ça va être très, très dur de réussir et de faire des progrès. Alors que si vous tombez sur quelqu'un qui vous soutient et qui s'applique pour vous aider, ça va être beaucoup plus utile. Et une autre chose qui est très importante, c'est de toujours avoir un sujet pour chaque conversation. Et pour ça, vous pouvez utiliser cette fiche de travail qu'on appelle en anglais de Fluency Worksheet. Et ça fait partie de ce que j'appelle de Fluency Starter Kit, French Fluency Starter Kit. Et pour ça, vous avez le lien dans la description. Si vous ne l'avez pas encore téléchargé, vous pouvez le télécharger. Il y a, je crois, 7 ressources maintenant, y compris ces cours du dimanche. Ça, c'est une ressource. Donc voilà, vous pouvez utiliser ce document pour savoir de quoi parler pour chaque conversation. La quatrième chose dont on a parlé, c'est de prendre soin de manager, gérer, on pourrait dire en français, de gérer l'anxiété. Et pour ça, d'ailleurs, c'est un sujet dont je pourrais parler dans un autre sujet, donc dans un autre live. Donc, dites-moi si vous voudriez que je parle de ce sujet de l'anxiété, like how to manage anxiety when speaking French. That could be a topic, so please let me know if that's something you'd like to hear about. Vous pouvez utiliser les mêmes techniques que vous utilisez pour gérer votre anxiété en temps normal. Donc, des choses comme la méditation, faire de l'exercice. Il y a aussi l'EFT, donc ça, c'est Emotional Freedom Technique en anglais, donc la technique de liberté émotionnelle en français. Tapoter, on appelle ça, parce qu'on parle de tapoter sur le visage ou sur des points en particulier du visage en parlant, et ça aide à relâcher ses émotions. Et enfin, la dernière chose dont on a parlé, la cinquième chose, c'est de faire attention à la résistance. Parce qu'on a vraiment tendance à résister la pratique, particulièrement, en tout cas, j'ai remarqué que pour moi, si c'est une toute petite chose à faire, je vais avoir tendance à résister parfois plus que si c'est une grosse chose. Et comme on a dit au début, ce qui est important, c'est de commencer petit. Donc, il y a de grandes chances que votre cerveau résiste ou que vous pensiez que ça compte pas. Et ça, c'est très important de faire attention à ça parce qu'en vérité, ça compte. Chaque petite chose qu'on fait, chaque petite tâche que vous complétez en français, ça contribue à faire de vous un francophone. Donc voilà, c'est les choses dont on a parlé aujourd'hui. Si vous voulez passer plus de temps à parler français avec moi individuellement, nous avons le programme qui s'appelle The French Transformation, donc la transformation française. Et je vais vous expliquer que le prix allait augmenter au 1er août. Donc, mais par contre, si vous avez déjà un abonnement avant le 1er août, vous allez garder le prix tel qu'il existe maintenant. Donc, si ça vous intéresse, vous avez le lien dans la description. Et attention, vous ne pouvez pas décider le 31 juillet de vous inscrire parce que si vous n'avez jamais travaillé avec moi en individuel avant, vous devez avoir un appel gratuit juste pour qu'on puisse parler du projet. Donc, essayez de faire ça assez rapidement si ça vous intéresse pour que vous puissiez avoir le prix actuel et le garder après le 1er août. Donc voilà, c'était le résumé du sujet en français. So please let me know how much you have understood of that. I think I've done it rather rapidly because I wanted to summarize everything, and it's also a content that you've already heard before, so it should be easy-ish to get it, but please tell me if you liked it. Please tell me if it helped. I would love to keep doing that if that was helpful. So, a big part of the class in English and then speaking in French to summarize everything I had said. If that is helpful, if you enjoyed it, please let me know. And I can do that every time if you want. So Tony is saying, le résumé en français is a great idea. I understood it all. Amazing. That's great. Andrea is saying, understood a good bit. I liked it. Okay. I would like to hear from the other teachers' pets if they have still, how much they have understood and how much it went. Connie's saying she understood a lot. She likes this. Okay, great. So I think we will keep this. One thing that we decided last time was the word of the day. And I'm just realizing right now that I haven't found one, but I will find one. I have 3 minutes left. Linda is also saying she understood most of it too. Okay, great. Yeah, I think that is a good way. And the other Linda says yes as well. I think that is a good way to both wire in the strategy and also wire in the French because, yeah, you've heard the topic before, so it's easier. It's a bit like reading a book that you've read in English, and then reading that book in French. So, yeah, I'll keep doing that. That's a good idea. A word for today. I'll suggest the word sac à dos. Sac à dos, well, it's actually kind of 3 words, right? 1, 2, 3. But it means backpack. So sac is a bag. So un sac, it's masculine. You can also see the article here. It's masculine. So un sac, it's a bag. And le dos is back. So un sac à dos is a bag that you have on your back. So that is the word of the day or the expression of the day. Errol is here. Hi, Errol. Ça aide, mais un peu plus lentement, s'il vous plaît. Okay, I'll try to do it slightly slower next time. All right, so un sac à dos, that is the word of today. So it means backpack. And this is a really cool book that I really loved. It's called Votre Empire dans un sac à dos. So it's your empire in a backpack. The author is actually a YouTuber. He has like a note here saying that he has 300,000 subscribers on YouTube. I'm pretty sure he has a lot more now. His YouTube channel is Marketing Mania, that's the title. So if you are interested in marketing, even remotely interested in marketing, I recommend his channel. He's really, really interesting. He shares a lot of, he often takes things that work and he analyzes them. And sometimes there are things from the French culture, and sometimes there are things that he has found to be interesting in general, so he speaks about them. But yeah, Marketing Mania on YouTube. If you're even remotely interested on marketing and you want to have a good French bath, that's a really good one. He speaks quite fast, so you might want to slow him down. So yep, we have exactly 40 seconds left. So if you have a quick feedback for me, tell me if you like this new word, un sac à dos. And yeah, we can keep practicing this. We can keep practicing the word of the week and the French resume. and everything. And I'll see you next week for more tricks on how to learn vocabulary fast. So Andrea and Connie are saying merci. Well, thank you guys for being here. It's amazing to hang out with you as usual. And yep, I will see you next week. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week. Au revoir.